Well, hello. Welcome, everybody. Muskrat Adventures. I can't see Chad just yet, but looks like Chad's in the house fishing with the squirrel. D is in the house, Mike Urban, Brandon Cross. Hey, thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Hey, I know it looks like we're in two different places, but I can almost touch Brandon. But him and Betty's got a beautiful sunset in the background. And we got almost darkness. But so thank you guys for being in here. And you guys haven't noticed, we got a full house sitting here. So you got Doc Lange in the house, Zack Murray in the house, and I can almost get on her screen if my arm is a little bit longer. But Betty Cross and Brandon Cross, we're on Wheeler Lake, Alabama.
I mean, on lake, right there it is.
The water's underneath us. I actually have to be careful not to knock the phone over because it's going in the lake.
Yeah.
So
They might be able to see the water behind me. But
might be able to see some water, but you can tell that there's water back here. But guys, we're having a ball.
We are having a blast.
We're having a ball down here fishing. I know a lot of you have followed on Facebook and seen some of the pictures that Zach's got a PB, Brandon got a PB, Betty got a PB, Doc caught a monster 76-pound blue cat yesterday. And I'm still looking for the big one. I've caught my biggest so far this week's 33 at 27 and something else. But we are having a ball down here.
Zach's big fish.
52.
Oh, 52. I said
52
TD, but I didn't say how big it was.
That's right.
Zach got a 52.
It's 53, actually.
Oh, was
Yeah,
it?
We took off too much for the limit.
Yeah,
on that.
Oh.
I cut him short, so I want to make it up to him. Pound's a pound.
It matters.
Especially when it's a PB, you got to know what to beat.
It matters.
Hey, I got asked Doc to come on the show tonight. I know that you guys have been anxious and had questions and whatnot, and but I'm going to turn it over to Doc for a few and let him say hi. I'm going to try to catch up on chat here for a minute. So.
Yep, we're having a good time. You guys been here since when? Thursday last week, or you got here Saturday?
Saturday, yeah.
During the hurricane, we got here.
It was ugly during that time. A lot of rain. I know at my house I got 2 inches on one day and then 3 the next day, and so I didn't get to go out on the water in the boat. But because Wheeler Lake, Wheeler Dam has a pavilion that has a roof on it. I go there a lot of times just to either catch fish or catch skipjack, mainly catch skipjack. So I ended up there during the hurricane and actually caught skipjacks for all these guys so that when they got here, they could go out and fish. But it was pouring down rain when they got here. So but it worked out.
Yeah.
We've had a blast.
Yeah,
I've been kind of doing the guide thing for them. I go out in my boat and they just kind of follow me around, and we've had a really good time because we're down there side by side. Just sometimes we're able to chat with each other as we're going down the river. So
it has been amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah. So Doc, we showed up and Doc delivered skipjack to the house. And to be honest, we was putting in at a different ramp in the morning. Benny and Brandon, of course, you guys saw them go live for the YouTube couples tournament. And so we wanted to go check out that ramp and make sure they had the GPS coordinates to get there and make sure everything went smooth. We drove down there and we thought, well, we ought to just try to catch some bait while we're here.
Yeah, and by the way, this is during the hurricane.
During the hurricane.
Yes.
All right, so this is Hurricane Delta versus Hurricane Betty 2020. And we went down there, in the pouring rain and caught skipjack.
And they were biting good.
They were biting
very well.
We were
from the bank.
Yeah, from the bank. Yeah,
Old
we were on the
Delta
bank.
didn't beat me though, did she?
Huh?
Old Delta didn't beat me though, did she?
No, Delta didn't beat Betty. So, but no, it's been a fantastic time. If you guys haven't had a chance to get down here, Wilson Lake or Wheeler Lake, I can just tell you, like, the atmosphere down here, the people it's been really good.
Amazing.
We ain't been around a whole lot of people, to be honest with you. We just pretty much eat, sleep, fish, which is
That's what I do all the time.
Yeah.
What else
Yeah.
is there to do?
we're taking notes from Doc. But
We,
yeah,
we record everything he says.
Yes.
the only
For
reason
later.
the only reason this is even happening is so we can remember what he says. So we got some good footage yesterday of the big fish of the trip, and so we'll get that put out there. Betty did a good job yesterday going live and captured a lot of it on there. You can just feel the excitement and the adrenaline running from boat to boat as we.
Yeah, when I hollered, I need some help.
Yeah.
Help me.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, like you said, we were all relatively close to each other, and so Doc was, I don't know, what, 200 yards ahead of us, 100 yards?
Yeah,
150
and
yards.
them, they were,
Oh,
100
above that.
yards. Yeah, I was in the middle between the two boats, and it looked like I was having trouble with my trolling motor because I was doing circles and I hit the
And he was
thing,
like
and
all
then I
out
come
of whack.
back, and finally I got the fish in the net, and I said, I need some help. I cannot get this fish up over the gun. But I had fought the fish for over an hour. When Betty and Brandon come up, I'd been on it 40. You said 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So.
And I
It
noticed
was
probably 20 minutes before that you had a fish on, and then I noticed it was huge, so we had to reel him head over. And as we were heading over, you were like, I need help.
Yeah, to be honest, from our view,
What?
Zach and I kept looking up and seeing Doc. He was going across the river this way. Then he was kind of going around. Then he was like, I think he's facing us. We was like, what is going on? And then so we're like, it's Doc Lange. I'm not going to question him. I don't know what he's doing, but he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah, and what I had done is I cut the trolling motor because the fish was he was just going crazy. And I was trying to let him drag the boat and possibly wear himself down, but it didn't do much good as far as wearing him down. If you all saw the release, he about broke my hand when I put him in the water. I thought I was going to have to hold him there for a little bit. And he clamped down on my hand and said, thank you, and then he was gone.
Something to remember me by.
Yeah.
I'd like to scoot this camera closer so that you guys can get a better look see, and
But move the bench forward.
we could try to move the bench forward a hair, but I think if we get any closer, we'll cut us all off. So I apologize for the picture quality. Where we actually decided to put the two cameras side by side because we thought there was no way you were going to get all five of us in the screen. You wouldn't even know who was. Well, you probably know who was talking.
Right.
But you see anything in chat besides hellos?
Hello's right now.
Hellos.
All closed.
That's pretty much common. That's pretty much common etiquette right now, and just about any live stream is about the first 20 minutes you're saying hello.
Yep.
It's hard to keep up with everybody. I know at times I probably miss folks as well, but it's not intentional, I'm sure.
Yeah, we've got bugs everywhere around us here. They're just
Yeah.
killing it. They've got mosquitoes and everything else just landing on us and everything else.
Yeah.
See people touching their face a lot. That's what's going on.
Yeah, we don't have Tourette's or. Yeah.
The videos was.
The video's fine, just have an echo.
Oh, we got an echo.
Yep.
I can't shut
We're
this
out.
off.
We're out wide open on the dock right here, so I'm not real sure
Let me see.
where the echo is coming from, but
There, she muted hers. 1% better.
muted her mic.
Yep.
All right.
That
Any better,
probably-
Chad? There's still an echo.
You guys give us a thumbs up, or I imagine that was it. I didn't think of it.
Yeah.
We were sitting side by side.
It won't go completely silent. So.
Yep. Chad said we're good to go.
Good to
That's
go.
what it is. So.
All right.
Yeah.
So, Doc, what do we want to talk about?
We can talk about the way I fish this lake. I mainly fish Wilson Lake. I will fish Wheeler. We fished Wheeler yesterday, but I mainly stay on Wilson Lake. One of the reasons I like Wilson Lake because it's smaller. I can break it down a lot quicker than I can Wheeler. And I am a big structure fisherman. Wilson has a ton of structure, and literally a ton of structure.
Yes.
Just,
Yeah.
from standing trees to logs that are laid down to boulders the size of Volkswagens. There's all kinds of structure there. I like to drag. I mainly like to anchor, but if there's no current, then I'm either drifting or dragging. For the last 3 days, we've been doing nothing but dragging baits. And some of the areas I've taken them through, it got pretty gnarly. We're working the islands. Today we worked an old railroad track bed. I had a pretty good day today. 5 fish, 131 pounds. So I think the biggest one was 38 pounder. So I'm just using a Carolina rig, about a 2 to 3 ounce dragging weight that I make my own out of drift cord. And all I'm doing is putting in like the little pencil lead. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm using for weight, goes in that drift cord. And just put them out back. And the one thing I do a little bit different than everybody else, what everybody else may do down here, is I run whole baits. I try to, when I go out in the mornings, I try to catch 20 to 30 skipjacks. Usually that gets me through a day's fishing. The last 2 days I've ran out. So it's been, I go through a lot of bait, but I'm not, I'm mainly fishing for the big fish. But if the little guys want to hit, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Wheeler and Wilson are known for their huge fish. That's what I'm trying to target. And you're going to see it on the camera probably here in a second. There's a boat going by. Right behind Betty and Brandon. So, but so that's what we've been doing. We've been catching skipjacks like in the morning or mid-afternoon. They're running really heavy. We've got a great hatch this year. Water temperature is, what was it, about 73,
Right at
74?
73 this afternoon.
I had
Yeah,
73.
and we've been kind of targeting different depths of water. My favorites are between 35 and 50, 60 foot. Roger and Zack got into some of the 100 foot yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, we found
120 foot.
Yeah, it's close to 120 foot of water we found
And
down
full
here.
of trees.
It's crazy.
Full of trees.
Yeah, I'll be honest. When Doc said, he pulled out a 20-inch skipjack and said, "Send the whole thing." Cut the tail off so it'd bleed a little bit. Send the whole thing. I thought he was crazy, and I'll be honest. It's not that uncommon. We've been throwing whole skipjack anywhere from, I don't know, our average is about 11, 12 inches, I think.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. 11, 12 inch skipjacks what we've been catching. And we just cut the tail off. And
the big thing with this is we'll go out there and drag baits for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and pull them up out of the water, and you got them hanging there, and they're still dripping blood.
Yeah.
That long out, they're still dripping if something didn't eat all of it.
Yep.
So the one,
And a lot of,
like
the ribs are showing, and ribs are showing off of the heads, and a lot of the little fish will sit there and peck away. I had one today that they pecked away at it, and then all of a sudden they quit doing it, and the rod went down. So
the big guy scared him off, didn't it?
Yeah, the big guy came in behind him. I guess he figured that he wanted a meal, and he wasn't going to share with them little guys.
He slammed that rod.
Yeah.
Slammed.
Yeah, I was right beside Betty and Brandon, and man, he wasted that rod down.
Is that the one that broke your rod tip?
No, that was a different one. That was another one.
Yeah.
Hit so hard it busted.
Yeah, it broke Lyle called it the silver solder that holds the eye in place. So I had one that hit the rod so hard that it just snapped it right out.
yeah, it's been amazing stories that we'll be repeating, I'm sure, time after time. And there's some bloopers and blunders that's gone right along with it. So, so that's why it's always an adventure. I'll tell you, it's an honor to be down here fishing with Doc, but it's also a little frustrating when you're following the guy and he's catching all these fish, and you're like, what in the world? And he's only using like 3 rods.
Yeah,
And we're
I
sending
use 4 rods.
4 rods?
4 rods, yeah.
Yeah. And we're throwing out like 6 and 10 rods each boat and trying to keep up. And Doc's just up there picking up fish. And we're like, what in the world?
What we doing wrong?
Yeah, we're watching it.
Yeah,
We're
we're-
watching every
We're
move.
learning.
Yeah, we don't even get to hear about it. We actually have to watch it. It's like, holy cow, you got another one. It's been a good time. Guys, don't hesitate. If you guys got questions for Doc, this is a rare opportunity to put it out there for him. If you don't know who Doc is, well, shame on you.
Yeah.
Doc will forget more between now and midnight probably than I'll know in the rest of my life when it comes to catfishing. So if you guys got questions, don't hesitate to throw them in there to help keep moving things along. So I'll be honest with you, if the chat slows down, we're going fishing. Boat's loaded up with bait and ready, and
Doc's taking us night fishing, so
we're going night fishing with Doc Lange. So it won't take much for me to turn this thing around. I'll be honest with you. I had this conversation with Zack on the way up here.
here's one. Fishing with squirrel. Doc, fishing with the squirrel wants to know what's your favorite skipjack setup.
Favorite skipjack setup? I'm just using a Carolina rig. I've got a float pegged on it. I use 3 the rattlers on there. Each rattler is separated with a big plastic bead, so they spin real free.
Was he talking about to catch skipjack?
Oh, to catch skipjack.
Well, he didn't say that exactly.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know.
Well, clarify that. So
Okay. I'm not sure.
I thought he wanted to.
Well, that's
How
what I
to-
thought at first.
How to rig it?
Then you
I
said
did-
that. I was like, well, maybe he did.
That's
want to-
and I'm sure everybody's gone through that. The interpretation through text messaging is just horrible. You can totally lose the conversation. But
Yes.
hey, if you don't mind throwing that out there, what one you meant, and I'll skip right over Chad's question because you're just hilarious.
Yeah.
Uh,
Price is right, Chad.
he said, hey, ask Doc if he'll send back a cooler skipjack with Brandon and Roger.
Negative, Ghost Rider.
Let's see. I thought I missed one. Yes. I'm not going to stand
Okay.
between anyone and some fishing. I vote you say what you want to say and go get some baits out. That's
okay,
it.
it was to catch the skipjack.
How to catch a skipjack.
Yeah, what kind of
Okay.
setup?
So I tie my own sabiki, like sabiki looking jigs. I got a way that I tie them. And then here about right after I got down here to Alabama, I was throwing like curly tails and that kind of stuff. Those were okay, but they didn't last very long. The skipjacks down here can get pretty big, as a few of you have seen. And so the hooks would get bent, I would lose them, and then Quentin Robbins put me on the Shamo lures. Now, he's got 2 kinds. One of them's called a poison apple. That is my favorite. It's a green, and these are handmade jigs. They're expensive. They're like $2 a piece. But I've got like 5 of them, and I've caught, 1,000 skipjacks easy on just these 5 lures, and they're only 1/32. They're real small. I've never used them that small. I kind of questioned it when I first got them, but they are deadly. What I do is I don't throw a lot. It's hard on my shoulders. So I do a lazy man rig where you can use, I've got bobbers hanging out the back, and I just let it float out there and let them rip it down like a catfish would do. So, and most of the time I'm catching, well, tonight we came up there, we came in there in less than half an hour. I put 30 in the boat. So real good jig. And like I said, they're expensive, but for me, as many skipjacks as I'm catching, it's not really expensive because I would spend that much money on 4 or 5 I'm constantly tying. But
Right.
these, we call these guys the silver ghosts of the river. They can be there, and then all of a sudden they're just gone.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you have to capitalize as quickly as you can, and get them out there. Most of the time, all I've got is 2 rods sitting out the back of the boat, and a lot of times I have to put the second rod away because they're coming so quick. It's easier to do 1 rod. So
Is there a color on the chandlers? Have you found a color that works better than others, or do you have
the
to mix?
the poison apple. I've got the other one. I can't think what the name of it is. It's a white looking one,
Right.
but the poison apple is a green. It's a green looking lure, and it's Quentin developed it, and then the guy Howard, can't think of what his last name. He just tied it, and it's just deadly on skipjacks.
Can we read this question? From
Yeah,
Rex?
go ahead.
All right, Rex Blocker. Doc, Rex Blocker wants to know if you have any tips for fishing from the bank.
Oh boy, fishing from the bank, you're pretty limited when you're fishing from the bank. If there's a lot of guys that do it down here in Alabama, most of the time they're trying to catch stripers, wipers, that kind of stuff. But the guys that are catching catfish, it's kind of unreal. A lot of the boat guys are throwing to the bank, and the bank guys are throwing to the boats. So, but as far as I mainly do all my fishing from the boat. So it's kind of hard to tell you how to do it from the bank because I have no experience at it. It's good.
Stan Smith asks, Doc, when you're sending out the whole skipjack, what rig and how, like where are you hooking them at? He says he uses whole small hickory shad and usually hook them in the nose. So,
okay, so on the skipjack, there's a little groove right underneath of their chin. I take the hook and I stick it in that groove, and then I pull it up in there, and then it comes right out the top of the nose. So it's about I don't know, maybe a half to an inch behind the point of their nose, and it pops right out there, and then I send it out the back.
and it's working.
Yeah.
We've tried. Well, honestly, we started chunking some because we are doing some Kentucky rigs, dropping straight down underneath the boat. So we got 3 hooks or 2 hooks, so depending on what rig we're using. And man, you throwing the whole skipjack out, I'll tell you, I'm taking it home with me because just like Zach said, as far as being able to present a solid stream of scent and blood off them fish, it's when you leave them whole and just clip the end of the tail off, it's crazy how long it'll last.
Yeah. Bleed forever.
You find another one?
Yeah.
What you got?
Okay, here's a related question to the last one. This is from Avid Fisherman. Doc, do you prefer shad or skipjack the most?
I like my shad, and I use shad down here where a lot of people don't use shad. We have a lot of thread fins, yellowtail shad down here. People don't want to use them. I like to use them. It's the forage fish. Those guys are going to still eat them.
Right.
Skipjack is, I just, there's a lot of blood in the skipjack. That makes a big difference.
Right.
Especially the skipjacks that we're catching right now. We put them on ice immediately, but 4 or 5 hours down the road, you go and cut them, and you swear they're still moving. There is so much blood that comes off of them. The shad are the same way here. Okay, my normal day of fishing, I try to get 25 skipjacks to go fishing with, and then I've got a backup of about a dozen shad. So that's what I'm using. the skipjack down here, the skipjack will outproduce the shad. But I'm not so, in the springtime of the year, I think it's going to be another turnaround. I've only lived down here 6 months. I'm on the water 5 days a week, weather permitting, and I fish about 8 to 10 hours a day. So, I do a lot of experimenting. I'm going to really, do some bait comparisons as time goes along.
Jeremy here with Creole Catfishing asks, Doc, any preferences on leader length on a basic Carolina rig, and why? And does bottom or bait type affect your choice of length?
I mainly use about an 18 to 24 inch leader. I don't want a real long leader because I want a little bit of control of that bait as it's being drugged. When you're using a whole skipjack, even if you're using a demon dragon, I use a float. I know that whole skipjack is not completely floated up, but it goes up and down as you're, dragging them along. So.
Yeah, that's one of the first things I noticed when I looked on his boat. I tied some really long leaders, based off of some things I saw. And when I saw his boat, I looked at how short the leaders were, and I'm like, oh, I'm running 4 or 5 foot leaders.
Yeah, mine are about 18 to
about
24.
18. Yeah.
So, you get in that high current, and you don't want that bait. You want that bait as natural looking as it can be. I'm dragging baits at about 0.5, usually about 0.5. Today, the little guys were pestering around with the baits, so I stepped it up to 0.9. I was almost up to 1 mile an hour. And I was cooking along. A lot of people think that's fast. Well, that's not fast down here. Those big ones will run that bait right down in a heartbeat. In the summer, I was dragging baits at 1 to 1.5 miles an hour, and they were just chasing it down. But the water temperature was in the low 90s. So,
You got another one there?
We got another question from Skip Stewart.
Skip Stewart.
Skip.
I know that guy.
Skipper.
Hey, buddy.
Another Ohio person. All right, here's Skip's question. Doc, how much line is behind your planer boards, and how far are your boards spread apart?
Oh, how much line is behind my planer board? Probably 75 feet behind the planer board. Maybe a little bit more than that. Because what I do is I put the bait on, and then I just launch it out the side of the boat. And then I attach the planer board, and then I run the planer boards generally are about 50 feet off to the side and back behind the boat. That's on the planer boards. On my dragging rigs that are just directly behind the boat, they're not directly behind the boat. I've got them at least 200 to 250 feet behind the boat. They are way out there. The reason I do it that way is if you come into a tree, the angle that the line is going into the water will allow that weight to walk right over the top of the trees. It was happening today, wasn't it? Because you guys were getting hung up on some stuff where I was walking through it. So.
Yeah, definitely got hung up.
Yeah.
We have made our fair share of donations to Wilson and Wheeler with terminal tackle.
Well,
and
there's demon
such.
dragons down there if you want them. If you can get them.
You know,
Yeah, there's a question here from Avid Fisherman. Doc, do you cut the tails off the shad like the skipjack?
Yes, other than I'll split the body from the tail up to the head, which Betty had asked me today about that. Do I run what they call a flapper? And that's what I do. The only difference, I'll split it up to the gill plate on the shad, and then I stick the knife in the other way. So what you end up having is 4 pieces that are going like this on that shad. And I'll do that sometimes with the skipjacks. Other than it can get kind of crazy with the little guys, they'll really sit there and bang away if you got too much, hanging off of the back of that skipjack.
Kevin Palmetto Cats asked if you ever use a double hook rig. So I'm thinking he's talking 2 hooks for the one big bait stinger.
No, I just used a single hook in the head. If they can't swallow the whole thing, I don't want them to. Well, and the other thing that the problem I have, I'm fishing by myself. So if I catch a big fish like I did yesterday, I have to net that fish. So when I'm trying to net that fish, you got that if you have 2 hooks in there, that one hook is either going to get caught in the net or it's going to be hung on the back of the head of the fish. And I would much rather have to deal with only one hook. Now, granted, there's probably times I have missed a really good fish. I had one yesterday that ripped a rod down and was pulling drag, and then it just come loose. He just did not. He bit the skipjack and crushed the skipjack and bit it completely off just behind the hook. Just had missed it.
Where'd I go? Oh, Catmando Outdoors says, do you target mainly blue cat, or you go after flathead / shovelhead just for Betty? It looks.
I do them both. My background is mainly flatheads. I fished for flatheads my whole life when I lived in Ohio. And back in the 80s, the blues started showing up on the Ohio River, and then I started targeting them. When Lynn and I were fishing tournaments together, we were mainly targeting flatheads, but it's kind of tough to win a tournament with flathead. They just don't carry the weight or the muscle that a blue carries with him. So even though they're big, flatheads are big, they just don't have the muscle, and muscle is weight.
Yeah.
So
and their availability isn't quite as.
Yeah, and there's more blues down here. I did catch a flathead yesterday, a 22 pounder that hit a bait that was I don't know, I was at 0.7 or so. So, a lot of people say, well, flathead won't chase a bait. I'm pretty sure I hit him in the head with the sinker, because when I brought him to the boat, Betty, you guys were right there. Yeah, they were near me. And I said, oh man, it's a flathead. And then when I netted him, he was covered from head to toe with mud. I mean, it just hit I brushed the mud off the top of his head. So he was laying down in the mud. And that's that's a tip I'll give everybody. The very first fish you catch, take the fish and look at its belly. If it's covered in mud, they are laid down. They are down in that mud. They're down in that silt. If it's clean, then they're up off of the bottom and stuff. So that's one of the very first things that I do on the first fish that I catch, is I look at their belly and I look at their body mainly, just to see if they're covered up with mud, or if they've got algae growing on them from where they've been just laying there doing nothing. So,
does one seem to be more actively feeding than the other? So in my mind, if they're covered in mud, they're kind of hunkered down. They're
hunkered down, yeah, and they're just waiting on something to come by.
Okay,
and then they come out to get it. Because a lot of times when they go to get it, you'll see the mud is not on the tail from where they're taking off trying to get to it, but the rest of the body will have a silt cover to it. And the water right now down here is crystal clear.
It's crazy.
I mean, you can see almost 5 feet down into the water.
And that's after, like he said, almost 5 inches, 6 inches of rain within this last weekend. And the water's crystal clear. It muddied up.
It really didn't muddy up. It just kind of got stained a little bit. So, and I like to fish in the stained water. It's a lot easier to catch skipjacks in stained water and muddy water than it is clear. They've got great eyesight, and you got to have a really good jig to catch them when it's the water's as clear as it is right now.
You got one?
Yes. William Winterstein. You said you anchor sometimes. What current flow do you anchor?
I anchor when the current is about 1 mile to 1.5 miles. Sometimes I physically throw the steel, but I've got a Rodan trolling motor, and most of the time I just hit the anchor lock on it and sit there with it. One of my favorite methods is anchor fishing, but the current hasn't been the best here since I moved here. We've got more current now coming off of the dam than we've had since I got here. 61,000 coming off of the dam today. So, Betty, you guys caught one that was in the wood,
Yeah.
but it was below the dam.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, so
We did yesterday. Actually,
yeah, that's where
Zack
Zack caught
right.
your.
Right in the fastest part there, really.
Yeah,
yesterday,
but you were above wood.
Yeah. Well, we were in the wood.
Yeah, you were.
We
Yeah,
were right. We was thrown right into it.
We-
Into piles.
and our depth yesterday is what surprised
Yeah.
surprised me too.
Yeah.
His 53-pound blue cat, we was in between 9 to 12 foot of water. That's all.
That
And,
whole-
What
that-
about the one this
So I
there's
know-
morning?
logs piled on top of logs everywhere.
So I know it always pops up sooner or later. Somebody, that whether you fish shallow water or not fish shallow water, and some guys do or don't. Man, I'm telling you, shallow water, man, I love it.
it was shallow, but there's a lot of current flow, and
Yeah.
in that current flow, there's a lot of bait. That
Yeah.
was, that that whole area. It's kind of just upriver from where we catch the skipjack, because that's where all the water's coming out from the turbines. So that probably has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
This is not a question, but Tim Bischoff says,
Oh wow.
Hi, Doc. Been a long time. Don't know if you
Yeah.
remember me.
Yes, I do.
All right. He said, glad to see that you're doing what he was he was Scott Wiseman's.
Wiseman's
Yep. So there you go.
tournament partner. Yeah, I remember Tim.
There you go.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in ages.
That's the cool thing about the catfish community, man. It just, I know I've said several different times, but you meet people and you get to talk to them, and you learn stuff from them, or you make friends. Like here we are sitting, we're in Alabama, and 6 months ago I didn't know Betty Cross and Brandon Cross, or even Zack Murray, and through YouTube and Facebook, we're good friends.
And I knew none of them.
Yeah.
And then they show up down here, and now we're best friends. I mean, man,
We've
we're
been
going to have a blast. Yeah. So
So,
I have really enjoyed the visit with them down here. We've had a good time.
Doc, will you come teach me how to fish Lake Moultrie?
Oh,
That's it. Palmetto cats.
Palmetto cats, Kevin Lake.
Kevin. Yeah.
All right, here's Creole fishing. It says, Doc, have you ever fished I can't even pronounce this.
Man, I looked at it and I was waiting. I was hoping you could-
Atchafalaya.
He's been teaching you stuff.
Atchafalaya River in Louisiana.
Nope, haven't been that far.
I've
And
been
I'm
there.
sorry if I messed up the
Everybody botches
pronunciation.
Jeremy's words. He doesn't speak our language.
Well, that's just the name of the river. I'm
Yeah,
not
that's-
familiar with
Oh,
it
yeah.
either.
I know.
Yeah, he's got some good ones. And hey, while that came up, congratulations to Jeremy and his wife, Creole Catfishing, for a fantastic job on the YouTube couples tournament, first annual. We're going to say first annual because we're going to do it again.
Definitely.
We got to have a rematch, okay? But fantastic job, guys. I know you didn't give yourself much credit because they were all dinks, but let me tell you, the game was numbers. It was all about numbers.
That
And
was
I'll
the-
tell you right
That
now,
was the game. So
if anybody else had a hole that they can go catch 23 blue cats out of, and you guys did it in about 2 hours,
Yeah.
every single one of us would have been there. So hats off to you for pulling out the win, and looking forward to seeing some more of you guys.
He's the school
And here's-
bus driver.
here's a good question.
All right.
Here's a good question from Catmandu Outdoors for Doc. What kind of structure do the flathead relate to in lakes that's different from rivers?
Here in Alabama, the one thing I found out real quick after about 2 weeks is the flatheads here do not relate to trees like they do on the Ohio River. They relate to rock here. When you're targeting trees here on the Tennessee River, most of the time a blue is there. When I first got here, I'm working trees, trying to catch flatheads, and all I'm catching is blues. And then my daughter came down here one weekend. She wanted to go fishing, so we went out. I'm going down along a bluff. I see a big rock, and there's a big shadow behind the rock. And I said, "Oh, that's a good fish right there." I turned around thinking that it was a blue, and it ended up being a 36-pound flathead. So, and when he took it down, I knew it was, we anchored up, I spot locked on him. We threw the baits back. It sat there, it seemed like maybe 10 minutes or so. And then I saw the rod, the typical, just eased it on down and never stopped. And, she reeled up on it. And I said, "Is that a good one?" She goes, "Hey, it's not too bad." And then the hook went in. And then she was just, I said, "Don't drop that rod." I said, "Do not drop that rod." So, but she did a real good job of handling it. I told her, I said, as soon as he sees a boat, he's going to dive for the bottom. I said, "Let him go. Just let him go." And she did exactly that. And, a few minutes later, I slid the net under her personal best. And she's ready to come back to Alabama and go for some more. So,
I tell you, it's going to be hard to keep me away. I didn't. I don't think I haven't posted much. I'll be honest. Betty's done a pretty good job of keeping you guys in the loop what's going on, and I'm just having a ball. My poor wife, she's stuck at home, and I barely get a call or message her because I'm wrapped up in what's going on right here. And so I ain't been on Facebook much. I ain't been on the phone much. I'm just having
we're fishing from dawn.
Yeah.
We're
towards the evening.
If we're not fishing,
We're sleeping.
we're sleeping.
Yeah.
And we're not doing much of that.
No.
No.
Not much.
You got anything else yet?
There is another good one.
Okay, go ahead.
Doc, do you catch more flatheads on cut bait or live bait
Ooh,
in lakes?
In lakes.
I'm sorry. That what part? The lakes part. Forget that.
It said Lakes here in South Carolina. I get them on cut.
Yeah.
Mainly cut. Yeah, I get them here on cut.
Cut.
So I put live out and nothing, and you cut that, and then all of a sudden here they come. So, but that now, I did make an exception last week before you guys got here. I caught a live skipjack and put him out behind the boat while I was trying to catch skipjacks, and I caught a 42-pound blue on a live skipjack
While you're catching bait.
while I'm catching bait.
Oh man.
So, and that's another tip. And these guys found out about it real quick, and I forgot to tell them, if you come down here, bring your cat rods, bring your skipjack rod, but always keep a skipjack rod on the boat with you all the time, because as they witnessed today and past days, you're out there in the middle and all of a sudden the water erupts and the skipjacks are there, or it's rock bass, or it's white bass, stripers, so you got to stay on your toes the whole time while you're down here.
All right. Here's another good question. Okay. From James Fox.
My buddy Bink.
Doc, explain to us how you net those giant fish by yourself.
Oh man, I'm learning. I don't know if you all noticed the net yesterday. I've got pool noodles on the net, on my net, and it only goes like halfway up. It's there for two reasons. One is I have a real bad habit of taking the net and putting it up on the bimmy top. And then when I go to move to another spot, the net flies off, and then I got to go around and I almost lost that hydro net, that 150 hydro net from Monster Cat, from Monster Rod Holders. that I almost lost it 3 times. So I put the pool noodles on there. But the other thing, and I don't know if you guys saw me doing that yesterday, is I can put the net down in the water, and the pool noodles help to float it.
But the rest
And
of it's down.
But the rest of it's down. And so when he came up, then I was able to just take the net and just shove it straight down and lead him into the net. So
I did
it
notice that.
it is not easy doing it by yourself. It is tough. It is really, I mean, you know, I've seen Steve Douglas do it for years, and now I know the pain that he goes through trying to get a big fish in the net by yourself. It's nice to have a net man, but when you're the fisherman and the netter, you have to do things to make things easy for you. So,
Anything else yet? I got something for you. Good. So, actually, Zack inspired me to think this way, because Zack has agreed to come on the show soon. I'm not sure yet. I got another guest that's willing to come on the show. It's also going to be another good, great information source. But Zack, over the last year or so, year and a half,
It's been probably a year and a half now.
year and a half. You know, like many of us started out, and you know, we were catching decent sized fish, but then, you know, the passion grew to catch trophy sized fish. And in your opinion, you know, what does it take to go from, you know, catching decent sized fish? Because like Brandon and Betty, they come from, you know, a lake on Ohio where the biggest fish are, you know, well, of course, Brandon got a 20-pound channel cat, which is fantastic.
Of course, Doc got a 22 in the same lake, but you know.
Oh yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Where's that salt? You said don't pour the salt in the wound yet. But like, you know, like these guys here, you know, they're going from, you know, catching channel cats and you know, occasional flatheads to down here trolling now for monster
giants.
blues. And so, in your opinion, what's the big steps somebody needs to take to go from, you know, decent average size fish to go into that trophy size category?
Time on the water. The more time you spend on the water, learn the fish habits, how they maneuver. Electronics are a big thing for me. Not just to find fish. I'm really not looking for fish, but I'm looking for the structure or the highways. Ledges are the highways that these fish travel. And that's what you have to do. You got to learn to use that kind of stuff. I'm not really looking for a fish, you know, on the screen. I really rely heavily on my mapping. I was telling you guys, you know, there's a bridge abutment up there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, go to yesterday, and I mean, I'll be honest with you, I have pulled three big fish off of this one stump that I pulled that 76 yesterday. And I, you know, and it's a piece of structure. And I knew that I had caught 2 other big ones. So I just said, well, I'll just slide by this thing. And I got pretty excited because I had the side scan on and I saw the shadow of the stump. And then directly behind the stump was the shadow of a fish and 2 other fish, 2 big shadows that were right there. And then as I, you know, because my lines are so far behind, you can see as the line goes by the stump, I said, come on, be my fish, be my fish. And then the rod went down. And then I have a tendency when I mark a fish like that, I have a tendency of rushing to reel down on the fish. So I kind of just sat back there and I said, come on, take it down, you know, and he ripped it down and I let him start pulling drag before I grabbed the rod and reeled down on him. So, and that's one of the things that I do is I reel down on a fish even if the rod's buried, I still reel down on the fish to make sure that hook is in before, you know, I try to get it out of the rod holder. And sometimes I struggle to get them out of the rod holders, depending on, you know, how big the fish is and how fast he wants to take off, you know, after he hits a bait. So.
Time on the water. And then like you said, learning the mechanics of the bait. So for instance, yesterday, Doc told Zach and I that down here, the first thing that'll hit in the morning, the white bass will move in. And then after the white bass move in, shortly after, the skipjack will move in and push all the white bass out. And it happened exactly just like that this morning. We seen the light came on, fish started boiling. Zach was over there burning up some white bass. Ain't nothing.
That was a blast.
Yes,
I mean, just catch as many as you want. Just keep casting.
And then next thing you know, the skipjack moved in, the white bass were gone, and it's just time on the water. He figured that out, and
he's only been here for 5 months, and he figured that out. That's what amazed. That's the part that amazed me.
Yeah,
I mean, jeez, that's amazing.
So
perceptive.
Well, and the thing of it is, there's a big competition going on down here. The bait guys are trying to catch all the skipjacks. I'm trying to catch 20, 25 to go fishing with. So, I got to learn. And, even though I've been doing this a long time, I go up to them and say, how do you catch them skipjacks like that? One right after another. And, some of the guys are real good with their information. And then some of them, they won't give you the time of day.
Here's a good question that came up. Justin's fishing fetish. What size hooks do you use for trophy cats?
I'm using 8/0 hooks. I also have Dale's Tackle, the 12/0. When I'm running a 2.5, almost a 3-pound skipjack, I'll use Dale's hooks because it gives me a little bit more sticking out of a skipjack, especially on the great big heads. On the regular 12 to 14, I'm using 8/0 Daiichi, the red. I can never remember.
D85.
Huh? What is it?
D85.
I can never remember that. Yeah, D85. Yeah,
I think we've all got it tattooed somewhere.
That will be easy for you to remember. D Daiichi 85 is your PB.
I know, well, that's
Oh,
There you go.
yeah.
There you go.
Man, I saw another one. Oh, Jim Clark says, tell Doc K-Bug Clark says hi.
Hey, K-Bug. Yeah.
K-Bug.
Over in Kentucky.
Okay, JP3. Doc, do you use a Versa rattle or a Demon Dragon?
Mainly, I'm using Versa rattles.
Tell him why.
Well, I lost.
They're expensive.
Yeah, the Demon Dragons are expensive. And the Versa rattles, but I stack the Versa rattles.
Yeah.
A lot of people use only one. I use 3.
And
So-
but you put a bead between them.
And I put a big bead between them.
so that less friction.
So that, they really go. And most of the time what I'll do is after I set it up, I put it over the side just to make sure that they're sitting there spinning in the current. Use a big, and don't use a real small rubber. A lot of people use the rubber. I use the hard plastic. I go to Hobby Lobby and buy these. They look like pearls.
Right.
Is what, they're big.
Walmart sells them too in a big bag.
Yeah.
And they don't cost nothing.
Yeah, and so that goes between all of those. I've got the float, and then I've got the 3 Versa rattles. And color, I don't think it makes a difference. The 76 yesterday came off of yellow and orange. It makes noise. I think that's the big thing. The Demon Dragons are, and I think I lost a Demon Dragon yesterday. So I've got all Versa rattles on my.
I've almost lost all my Demon Dragons.
We lost 2.
I called it today after I broke off like the 5th time. I'm like, I know why Doc uses Versa rattles.
Yeah.
This gets expensive, and he fishes 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm going back to the phone floats.
Kevin Palmetto Cats asked, do you put the rattle on top of the bobber or above the swivel leader?
No, on top of the bobber. Yep.
He wants it down there pretty
I
close
want
to
it
the bait.
right there, just above. Usually the float, I put the float about 4 inches above the hook. Because you just want that to bring it up and then let it settle back down. Because because the water is so clear down here a lot of time, and I have a lot of time on my hands, so I can go out there, I can anchor down, and I can drop my baits on the bottom in current and watch what they're doing. That's how I learned how to do the weights and how to do the Versa rattles. You know, the water is just absolutely clear down here, and so I'll just go out there, anchor up, and drop my baits over the side and look at them and see what they're actually doing. That's how I learned to the flaps. The where you make the cuts on your baits and watch them sit there and wave in the current. So
Yeah,
it's kind of nice when you just live on the water all the time.
Gold.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we're all a little jealous.
Looks like stuff's slowing down a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a good
Yeah,
one.
actually, you just answered Skip's question. It was pretty much the same thing about where you put the rattles, but
Looks like it's about done.
I use
Down.
monofilament. I'm real big on slime line and Berkeley big game. My braided poles, those are mainly used on the Mississippi River when I'm back bouncing. So I heard something back here. Something just splashed back
Yeah.
there, didn't
We
it?
just heard a fish roll right behind us.
Right in that
Or
brush
something in the
pile.
water. Yeah.
Some kind of critter over there. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
almost
there's been a critter
I've been
wandering
watching
over
here for
there.
about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, is it a possum or is it
I
a
can't
pig?
figure out what it is.
yeah.
As long as it's not Pepe Le Pew.
Pepe
coming
Le
back.
Right.
A lot of deer down here, man.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
We
Tons of
about
deer.
hit probably every day this week.
Yeah,
What about
I got-
the dog.
Yeah, that's why I said you can tell we're not in Ohio because we think they're dogs when you
Well,
see
they
them
come
going up the
straight.
Have
road.
y'all seen all the armadillos?
I haven't seen that single
I
one.
haven't seen
Really?
one at all.
Oh, this place crawls with armadillos.
Oh my
Really?
gosh.
Yeah, they're
Oh.
everywhere.
They're like
Yeah.
a possum.
I got to see
Yeah.
one.
Pretty much.
Maybe that's
Yeah.
what that is.
I don't know. It looks like a groundhog or a prairie dog or.
That might be an armadillo. I don't know.
We're all checking out the critter.
Yeah.
What will I think? Don't take much distraction.
Lyle says,
Squirrel.
ask Doc how fast he can chase a rod across the back of a boat and it gets jerked out of his hand.
Yeah. Yeah, that happened on the Mississippi River a couple of years ago. You're back bouncing and you're holding the rod in the hand, and then you get tired, so you go to switch. Well, the one thing I've learned to do is before I switch hands is I tuck the butt of the rod under my arm. What happened when Lyle and Cindy were there is as I went to switch and I went to put it in my other hand, a fish nailed the rod and flipped the rod right out of my hand, and I took off running and I jumped on the back of, he had a 300 horse engine, and I jumped on the back of the engine and grabbed the rod as it was going into the water.
Oh, man.
Missed the fish, but he
Kept
found out this old man can move pretty quick when he's going to lose a rod. So,
You got some stories in boats.
yeah,
Mark
yeah.
Blauvelt tried to tell us a story.
Yeah, but he left the part out there.
He
didn't
left, he left some stuff out, we
Yeah.
found out, but we'll just let that slide.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later.
Let's see. I thought I seen somebody else say, oh, Justin's fishing fetish asked, Doc, do you prefer day or night fishing?
I prefer day fishing. It's hard for me to fish at night. I have enough trouble seeing. We're going to go out tonight, so I'm pretty excited about going. I like to go with people at night. As long as I don't have to drive the boat, I'm good. I have problem with all the lights along the bank look like people are anchored down to me, and I have trouble maneuvering that kind of stuff. So I would much rather fish during the day. Critters, flatheads or blues, either one.
Got it. I know we did a lot of talking. Now you guys are here. Just got anything you guys want to add to your trip, or
They probably can't hear me.
Yeah, I can.
I can talk really loud. I've had an amazing time. Watching Doc catch that fish beat everything. I caught my PB, but watching that was better. Doc's amazing. I've had a blast. And I couldn't ask for anything better. he's made our trip amazing.
Yeah.
Unforgettable. Unforgettable.
Make
We've
sure you
had a
get plenty
good
of
time.
rest before you come down here too.
Yeah.
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 Make sure you what?
Get plenty of rest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If you got the
Yeah.
if you got the passion like we do, you don't get much sleep.
It's a
No.
trade-off. You know?
Yeah.
3:30
You wanna-
every morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
3:30. That's our get up.
Our normal time is 3:30.
And most of the time, everybody's already awake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fishing with the squirrel. We'll get a couple more questions in here real quick, and then we'll go wrap it up and hit the water. But Fish with Squirrel asks, do you ever fish nickajack or chickamauga?
Yes, I do. I fished Chickamauga last year. Nickajack. Oh, I love Nickajack because it's like the Ohio River. A lot of current coming below the Chickamauga Dam. Janet and Bink and I went there last year, I believe, day after Christmas, and I got blessed with a 52-pound blue cat. Bink had marked that fish, anchored up on it, and I got lucky and got that fish. So that was a good trip. And I'm only an hour and a half, 2 hours away from that. So another thing, I'm an hour and a half from Nashville, so I'm probably at some point I'm going to go up and bug Ryan Lawrence because he's catching the flatheads on the Cumberland River. So during the day, and I want to be able to go and do that probably with him. So I'll probably give him a call sometime, just make the trip up there and go fish with him.
I bet you don't get turned down very often.
That's kind of nice. So,
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, I've been doing this a long time. What are you doing? Come here. I've been doing this a long
It's like I got
time.
shocked.
Try to be free with your information. As far as I'm concerned, there are no secrets. I don't want to take my secrets when I die. So, I've always been free with my information. I'm not going to lie to you. I may not tell you
Everything.
yeah, quite everything. These guys know what I'm talking about. I shared something with them. I just asked them, don't share that for a while. Just wait, because I still do some tournament fishing, and the little trick I showed them this week definitely gives you an edge in tournament fishing.
Yep.
Definitely gives you an edge. We proved that this week, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is different. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, well, guys, let's see. I don't think I missed anything. That was pretty much it. I think I seen Skip ask something. Oh, what kind of dragging weights? I think you already kind of went through that, didn't you?
Well, I do a DIY. I buy drift cord off of Amazon, and then I slide pencil sinkers inside of it. I make them about a foot long, so they're not very long. I use 2 to 3 ounces. If I've got some that are made 4 ounces is the heaviest I've got. If I'm moving along at about 1.5 miles, 2 miles an hour, I have to go with a heavier. I try to use as light a weight as I can. I just want that bait just kind of ticking the bottom because, there's so much stuff on the bottom here in this lake. And so you want it to just slide over and then, just keep moving.
Jim Catman Clark, did you not catch Doc say hi to K-Bug? I think he was still trying to get a hi to K-Bug out.
Okay, bud.
Yeah. In case she's watching, there you go.
Yeah, Owensboro, Kentucky.
That's right.
Yeah, and I always got to see her when I went to Monsters on the Ohio, and they didn't have it this year,
Right.
so I didn't get to go see her. She always come up and give me a hug, and so I didn't get to see her this year. So
That's good too. You think about not only a young person or kid or whatever getting passionate about fishing, but to be a girl on top of it, it's just really refreshing to see. I know, Betty has a soft spot for women in the sport, and as many of us do, just because we need to encourage more people. Kind of like what Doc said, bringing more information and sharing the tricks and tips and the knowledge is going to make sure the sport sticks around. You know, if nobody shares this stuff and nobody puts it out there, you know, it could fade away. You know, people, if you put this information out there and you get people out there catching more fish and caring about the fish, you know, then these fish that we value have a better chance later down the road.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I don't know if anybody noticed it. I carry a sling on board the boat, and I dip it in the water before I weigh a fish. That way it doesn't take that slime coat off, and then, you know, we get them in there. They're tough to wrestle in. But
Yeah.
once you get them in a sling, then you've got control of them, and then you know, get them out and then get them back in the water. We kept that 76 out a little longer than what I wanted to, you know, just trying to get pictures, but he was no worse to wear when I put him over to the side. He wanted no part of that boat. He wanted off of he just bit down on my hand, and then he was gone. And I wear gloves, and you know, I'm an old guy. I can't afford to get an infection in my hands. And if y'all see what some of these fish eat and what the inside of their mouth looks like, you don't want no part of that embedded in your hand. So I always wear gloves when I'm releasing these fish.
My hand's more tore up from his fish than his hand is.
Yeah,
I stuck my hand in there trying to help, and I got tore up. So
I think add one little thing there about the sharing information and you know, getting other people into the sport.
Yes.
If we can give people enough, if we can get enough information from people like Doc to go out there, and for somebody, if they can hook into a 30-pound fish or, you know, upper 20s range or something one time,
Hooked for life.
they're hooked.
Yep.
I mean, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're going to progress, and then they can pass that information on to somebody else. But if you don't, if you're going out there catching 5 and 6 pound fish all the time, and there's nothing wrong with that, and, you know, it's a lot of fun, but I don't think you really get that real hard drive to continue to do that until you start catching some bigger ones. And then, you know.
Well, not only that, if you think about, you know, we're talking about getting kids involved. You know, if you're worried about, you know, kids getting involved in drugs and getting in trouble, get them hooked on catfishing. They can't afford nothing else.
Yeah,
they can't afford nothing else. Because my wife, she'll tell you, like, what'd you buy? What in the world? And I'm pretty lucky. She really don't give me no crap for it. But if I sit down and look at all the money I spend on catfishing, it's
it adds up over the
It's
years.
the only thing Caleb asked for. Fish and stuff.
fishing stuff. That's cool.
15 years old. I need a reel. I need a rod. I need this. I need that. Sure.
And that's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really exciting to see a child get excited when they see a fish. But when you see a big fish and it comes up alongside of the boat and the gleam in their eyes when they're looking at it, they don't want to touch it, but they just want to see it. You know, it's just, you know, God's created some magnificent creatures for us to catch and release. You know, it just, man, I just have so much fun doing this.
Well, guys, we've come up over an hour now, and that's about as long as I can sit still here with Doc Lange saying, I can't wait to go night fishing with you guys. And so on that note, unless Doc's got anything else?
No, thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Anybody else got
Appreciate
anything?
I'm good.
Guys, I really appreciate you tuning in. As soon as I get next week's guest lined up for us, I've got a couple in the works. I'll get it put out there for you. But thanks again so much for joining us. We was happy to come on here and talk a little bit and give a recap of what we're going through. And I look forward to running into you guys later. So
hopefully we'll put some pictures up in the morning.
hopefully, hey, this guy right here needs a PB. He's been feeding me PB and J's. I need the biggest catfish I've ever caught in my life.
There you go.
It's so much better than PB.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Thank you so much for joining. We'll see you next week on Muskrat Adventures.
Bye.
See y'all.